connected on Azure Government. Okay, now we're going to switch to the next demo. We're going to talk about Cosmos DB and Power BI on Azure Government, and I'm going to hand it over to Vishwas for this demo.
Thank you, Steve. Let me switch over to my machine. So I'm going to quickly show you the Cosmos DB capabilities. I'll walk you through the portal with some key characteristics, and then I have a quick demonstration application to sort of bring out the benefits. So what you see right now, I'm in the AzureGov portal, as Steve was talking about, and in this region, I have created a Cosmos DB service. And before I walk you through that, Cosmos DB is a service that many of our customers are looking at, and for multiple reasons. And number one is, if you were at the keynote, you probably saw the demo. It is one of the services that has been designed with the geo scale in mind. And it provides something called the multi-homing capability. What does that mean? It means that your application can continue to run even if your database switches from one data center to another, and you don't have to make a configuration change in your application. And that's really the hallmark of building resilient applications, that your application doesn't have to change, the configuration doesn't have to change. If something happens, if one of the region is temporarily unavailable, it will automatically switch to other region. So it's global scale, it's elastic. So you have something called the response units. You can scale them up and down based on the load. So there are a number of capabilities, and the third important capability that I should call out is it is a multi-model database. What does that mean? So the database itself supports multiple formats, whether it is MongoDB, whether it is a graph database, whether it is stable. It supports storing all of these models and allow you native access to that data using those models. So let's just quickly look at the portal here. So I'm right now in the Cosmos DB service, and let me just, for example, go here to replicate data globally. So right now, as you can see here, it is showing me that Cosmos DB is available in these regions. These are all AzureGov regions. So right now, my right region is Virginia, and then I have two other regions that are available. And I can simply come in here and say, I need to add one more region to that mix, and that's all I need to do, and the data will be replicated under the covers for me. And what is interesting is Cosmos DB is a Ring 0 service, which means it is available in every single region, including AzureGov, of course. So let's do this. So right now, this is Virginia. We have in Arizona. So we have created two instances. And let's just add another one to the mix and save this here. Okay, so this is all I did. I clicked on this region right here, and I'm just going to save. And you will see under the covers, the data will start getting replicated and made available for me. So while this data is getting replicated, let me also point you to the consistency story here, which is quite interesting. So normally, when you talk about NoSQL databases, you have consistency story that ranges from almost a linear or a strong consistency to an eventual consistency model. And Cosmos DB essentially offers you three intermediate states. So you can have, I was hoping to get some music as I was talking about consistency, and it's so exciting that thank you, Steve, for that side of music. I mean, I think it is really exciting capability. So here is bounded staleness, right? So the first key, so what does bounded staleness mean? So even though I've replicated it across multiple regions, I can say that the second region can only be behind these many steps or this much time interval. So I can do bounded staleness, or I can do session, which is a commonly used consistency level, which means that I'm writing for my session and I should get a consistent monotonic behavior within that session. Okay? How many of you thought that monotonic was a good thing to use here? All it means is if I write in my session, I'm able to read back from it. Okay? So I can have these consistency levels across multiple regions as well. Okay? So that's the other capability. I should point out also here, let me go over to the scale capability, which is, this is where the elasticity comes in. And let's just point out this throughput, which is the response units per second. So right now, it's set to 3,000, and while I was testing this application, I needed to bump it up or bump it down. And there's a very cool capability here. So you see response units per second listed here, right? And they give you, almost like your cell phone plan, that you have rollover minutes. You have this capability called response units per minute. So if you're not using all of your capacity within that minute interval, it is going to pull that for you. So in that period, if there's a spike in load, they're going to use your pooled RUs and sort of apply it to your requests. That's a pretty cool capability there, right there. So now that you've sort of seen what Cosmos DB is all about, so it's a global scale, multi-model, elastic database with allows you to set your consistency levels. Let's take a very quick example. And what I've done is, many of you probably saw this demo in the keynote. This was the Heroes database. Let me just bring this up. And I went out and got this Heroes database. It's a graph model of about 100 megs. And I basically uploaded it to the Cosmos DB instance. And once the data was uploaded, I can then use the SDK to write gremlin queries against that. Okay? So this is a slight variation of this. Steve was talking about how in AzureGov, the preview capabilities are not available, and for a very good reason. So in order to make this demo work, I had to make a slight change, but essentially the same demo, got the data loaded into the graph database, and let's just run it here. Let me load this information. And, who does Prince Sandra know? Let's load this up, and it'll come back with this information, all of the relationships within this. And by the way, note here that we added the third region, the Texas region, remember, in the previous demo? So we added that. That region is now available in this demo. I can, since I'm performing read-only queries, I can go to the closest region, which is my Virginia region, but I could also go to any of the other read regions. And if the right region became temporarily unavailable, the system will be smart enough to transfer me and promote another read region as a write region. Okay? So this is, Steve, you said something to me before we were walking into this, that, Vishwas, this demo with superheroes looks good, but you were talking about applying it to one of the examples that you had in mind. I know you want to.
Yeah, so just from the perspective of government customers, law enforcement, intelligence agencies, a lot of times are very interested in relationships between entities, and this is the exact type of use case where you can. And think of it like Facebook. Like, how does Facebook know your friends of your friends and that kind of thing? Associations, same kind of principles that we're dealing with right here.
So it's the ability to store any kind of graph, and if you've not looked at graph databases, I think it'll be helpful to just look at how you can sort of model these relationships and then perform these queries which are multiple nested level deep. So very hard to do that in a relational database. So Steve, over back to you.
Great, okay. Hit the button there.
To 6.
Yep. Okay, so we have talked about getting connected to AzureGov. We've talked about Cosmos DB. The next thing I want to talk about is cognitive services, because cognitive services is